Before I say a single word today, I want you to do something for me. I want you to pause what you're doing for just a few seconds and be fully here with me in this moment. If you're walking, just slow your pace a little, just for a few seconds. If you're driving, you can be present with me here too. If you're doing chores, give yourself a few seconds to hear what I'm about to say. Because I want you to be here, fully here, just for a moment. Because what I'm about to share with you today, I mean it from the bottom of my heart. And I wanted to actually land because today we are going deep into a place that I know so many of us struggle with. The fear that it's simply too late, that we are too late, and what that fear means for our weight loss and health transformation goals. Now, I got a message recently from a woman I'll call Emily, and I want to read it to you with her permission because I think it might be the most honest thing I've read in a long time. And it's something that I've felt too. Maybe you have as well. Emily said, Vera, I'm 49. I've been trying to lose weight since I was in my 20s. That's nearly 30 years. 30 years of starting, stopping, losing, gaining, trying, failing, trying again. And I look at women on Instagram who've transformed their bodies and I just feel so behind. Like everyone else figured this out years ago, and I'm still here, still struggling, still at square one. Sometimes I wonder if it's just too late for me, if I've left it too long, if I'm too far behind to ever actually get there. I sometimes think, what's the point? What's even the point of making the effort to lose weight again? I want you to sit with Emily's message for a moment because I know that woman. I have been that woman in one way or another. And I know that so many of you listening right now might be that woman too. Maybe not word for word, but somewhere in your story, certainly in my story, there's a version of that feeling. The feeling that everyone else is ahead. The feeling that you've wasted time, that the window is closing, that you are somehow, in some fundamental way, behind. And can I ask you something right now? Not theoretically, genuinely. Does any part of Emily's message sound like the voice in your own head? Even a little, even occasionally. If it does, I want you to just quietly acknowledge that to yourself. Not with judgment, just with honesty. Because if it does, this episode is for you. Every single word of it. Because I want to spend today's entire episode on that feeling, the feeling of being behind, of being too late. Not dismissing it, not bypassing it with a quick inspirational quote, but really sitting with it, pulling it apart, looking at what it actually is and where it actually comes from. And then together, you and I today, dismantling it completely. Because here's what I believe with everything I have. With over 20 years of my own struggle, a complete transformation in my mid 40s, and coaching women who've been exactly where you are, this is what I want you to know. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. And today, I'm going to show you why. Now, before we get into it, I want to personally welcome you to my podcast. I'm Vera Brown, weight loss, health, and fitness coach, women 40 and above who want to lose weight and transform their health naturally and sustainably. After years of struggling with my weight and health for decades in the corporate world and as an entrepreneur, I lost more than 100 pounds in my mid 40s and have kept it off. No pills, no injections, no procedures, no extremes, no tracking. In my podcast, I share what worked for me, including actionable strategies. I discuss fitness, nutrition, sleep, stress, and mindset to help you achieve your weight loss and health transformation goals. Join me. Now, let's get into it. If you're someone who has that thought, who has been thinking about sending a message like the one that I just read to you from Emily, or if you're nodding along right now because the feeling of being behind is so familiar to you, I want you to know something before we even start. You showing up today, pressing play on this specific episode, giving yourself this time, continuing to seek and question and grow, that is not the behavior of someone who has given up. That is not the behavior of someone who is too far gone. That is the behavior of someone who's still in it, still trying, still caring, still hoping. And that hope, the fact that it is still there after everything, that is not a small thing. That hope is everything. That hope is the beginning of your transformation. Okay, let's get into it because I have a lot I want to say today and I want every single bit of it to land. Let's start with the thing that creates the I'm behind feeling in the first place. Because let's be honest, it doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from comparison. And specifically, it comes from a very particular kind of comparison that is almost engineered to make you feel terrible about yourself. Social media comparison. Now, I know that talking about the dangers of social media comparison is not exactly a fresh take. You've heard it before, everyone has said it. Don't compare your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. We all know the drill. But today, I want to go deeper than that because I don't think just knowing that social media is a highlight reel is enough to protect us from it. If it were enough, we wouldn't still feel it. We wouldn't still feel that comparison and a sense of dread that we are too far behind. We wouldn't still sit on the sofa at 10 p.m., scrolling through the transformation photos of other women and feeling smaller and more hopeless by the minute. Knowing something intellectually and feeling it are two completely different things. So let me ask you this. Think about the last transformation photo you saw online, one of those before and after pictures. Can you picture it in your mind? The before photo, looking tired or unhappy, and then the after photo, glowing, confident, completely transformed. Picture it. Maybe even one of my before and after photos that you've seen online. Now, I want you to ask yourself, what story did your brain tell you in the 10 seconds after you saw that before and after photo? And I want you to really think about that. What did your brain fill in between those two photos? Did it tell you that the woman you see in those photos simply decided to change? She did the things, she got the results, and it was all very straightforward. Did it make you feel like you were watching somebody else's clean, linear, almost effortless journey? And then feel the gap between that story and your own messy, complicated stop start reality. Because here's what I want to tell you about that story that your brain told you it was fiction, almost certainly complete fiction. Because when you see a before and after photo, you are seeing two still images with no context between them. You are not seeing the years it took. You are not seeing the 3 times that woman quit and restarted. You are not seeing the divorce, the bereavement, the job loss, the health crisis, the months where there was no progress at all. You are not seeing the version of that woman who at month 4 also felt completely behind and wondered if it was ever going to happen for her. What you are seeing instead is just a simple before and after photo with a clean, simple arrow between them. And your brain, your beautiful pattern seeking, story making brain, fills in that arrow with a clean, simple narrative. But the reality is almost never that clean and simple. Almost never. And here's the most important point I want to make in this whole section. You are comparing your entire experience, the complexity, the history, the stops and starts, the real messy human story of your life to someone else's edited, curated, stripped down highlight. It is not a fair comparison. It was never a fair comparison. It was never going to produce anything other than the feeling that you are losing a race you didn't actually enter. How do I know? Because I spent years doing this, years looking at other women's transformations and feeling this dull, persistent sense of failure. Like those women had access to something I didn't. Like they knew something I hadn't learned yet. Like they were somehow better, more capable, more disciplined, more motivated. Like they were ahead of me. And what I know now is that none of those women's journeys looked like they appear to look from the outside. None. Every single one of them had their own version of the struggle, their own version of the starting over, their own 2 a.m. moments when they wondered if it was ever going to happen for them. So please hear me when I say this with love and zero judgment, zero shame, because I've been there. I truly have. Here's the thing I want you to really hear today: the struggle, your struggle, it is not evidence that you are behind. Your struggle is evidence that you are human, just like the rest of us. Now, here's the personal story I want to share with you today. The one I haven't quite told on this podcast in this way. The thing is, for most of my adult life, from my 20s through to my early 40s, I was waiting. Not consciously waiting. I wasn't sitting around doing nothing. I was busy, extremely busy, building a career, managing a life, doing all the things. But underneath all of that, there was a quiet, persistent background belief that I was waiting for the right time to sort out my health. And I thought that the right time would come when work calmed down. It would come when life settled down. The right time would come when I had more energy, when the next big project was finished, when things were just less hectic, when I had more space, more mental and emotional space, when I wasn't so overwhelmed. And the thing is, I was always almost there. The right time to sort out my health was always just around the corner. Another few months, another few weeks, another project completion, another season settling down, and then I would have the space and energy and clarity to really commit to my health. I want you to be honest. Does any of this sound familiar? I'd love for you to answer that honestly, just to yourself right now. Have you been waiting for the right time? Are you waiting for it now? Is there a version of this in your own life? The quieter season that you've convinced yourself is always just around the corner. The moment when everything will feel more manageable. You swear. The stretch of weeks that will finally give you the space to really begin your health transformation. Because I want to tell you what I learned the hard way. That corner, that magic moment, that never came. Because there is no corner, there is no magic moment, there is no version of life where things settle down, a space magically appears, and the right time announces itself with fanfare. That is just not how life works. At least that is not how it worked for me. And I suspect it's not how it works for you either. Because I believe that the right time is a myth, and not a comforting myth, not a harmless myth, but actually a myth that cost me, and I want to be really specific about this, probably 20 years. 20 years of waiting for a right time that was never coming. While my own health declined, my weight increased, and my belief in my own ability to change eroded a little more with each year that passed. And here is the devastating irony of it. The longer you wait for the right time, that magic moment, the harder it gets to believe it'll ever come. Every year that passes without action becomes another piece of evidence that you are someone who doesn't do this, that this is not for you, that you've left it too long, that you are behind. But here's the thing, I started my real, lasting health transformation at age 42. Age 42. During perimenopause, while building a business and navigating various personal and professional life challenges and transitions, while living a full, demanding, incredibly busy life with not a quiet moment in sight. And I lost over 100 pounds over 2.5 years and have kept every single pound off. And I didn't do it because the right time finally arrived. The right time never arrived. I did it because I stopped waiting for it and started anyway. In the middle of the chaos, in the middle of the overwhelm, in the middle of a life that was no less demanding than any of the years before. And when I look back now, when I really sit with it, I understand that all those years before, they weren't wasted. They weren't evidence of failure. They were the accumulation of everything I needed to know in order to do it differently this time, successfully. All the programs that didn't work in the past taught me what didn't work for me. All the times I started and stopped taught me about the patterns in myself that I needed to understand. And the struggle, all 20 years of it, was not wasted time. It was the education that I needed. So please let this sink in. You are not behind. You have been learning. And I want to tell you a story. And you know the story. You learned it as a child, but I want to tell it to you again right now because I think you've never heard it in quite the way I'm about to tell it. Now, give me a bit of patience with this one, please. Once upon a time, there was a hare, a bunny rabbit of sorts, and a tortoise, a turtle of sorts. And they were going to race. And everyone, absolutely everyone knew that how this was going to go. The hare was fast, the tortoise was slow. The hare practically laughed at the idea that this was even a competition. So the hare took off first. Fast, brilliant, explosive. And because the hare was so far ahead so quickly, he stopped. He rested. He figured he had all the time in the world. He had a head start. He had the advantage. He wasn't worried. And the tortoise? Well, the tortoise just kept going. No fanfare, no sprinting, no dramatic bursts of effort followed by exhaustion and rest. Just steady, quiet, consistent forward motion. One step, then another, then another. And then the tortoise won. You know this story from childhood, probably. Chances are you may have even told your own children about this story. And yes, I know, you've heard it 1,000 times. But here's the thing I want you to really hear today. The tortoise didn't win despite being slow. The tortoise won because of consistency, because of not stopping, because of not needing to be the fastest or the most dramatic or the most impressive. The tortoise just needed to keep moving. And here's the part that I think gets missed in every retelling of the story. The tortoise was never behind. Not really. The tortoise just looked behind from the outside. But From inside the tortoise's own experience, there was no behind. There was only forward, forward motion, one step, then the next. And I want you to think about where you are in your own health journey right now and ask yourself, honestly, are you the tortoise or are you the hare? Not in terms of speed, but in terms of approach. Have you been going all out, then stopping, then going all out again, and then stopping again? Starting with huge energy and discipline, burning bright, and then burning out, exhausted. No judgment, no shame, because I've done exactly that for decades. And so many of the women I coach have done that too. It's the most natural thing in the world for so many of us when you feel behind and you want to catch up fast. But the research on this is genuinely interesting. Studies that look at long term weight loss and health transformation consistently show the same thing. It is not the fastest approach that produces the most durable results. Instead, it's the most consistent approach, the one you can actually sustain, the one that becomes part of your life rather than a temporary departure from it. And this is where I want to say something that might feel a bit counterintuitive, but I mean it with everything I have. Slow progress is not consolation prize progress. Slow progress is not the progress you settle for when you can't quite have the fast progress. No. Slow progress, when it is real and consistent and sustainable, is actually the most powerful kind of progress because slow progress compounds, because slow progress builds habits rather than just results, because slow progress changes you at the level where real permanent change actually lives, not just in your body, but in your relationship with yourself. Half a kilogram or pound a week, maybe less, a new habit every month, one more workout than last month. These things feel small, but they are not small. Compounded over time, compounded over months, over years, 2 years, 5 years, they are everything. And here's the shift in thinking that changed everything for me. When I stopped chasing a quick, short term program, and started embracing permanent change. When I stopped asking, how quickly can I get there? And I started asking, how can I make this something I do forever? Then actually something genuinely remarkable happened in my own journey. I stopped feeling behind. Because when you're not on a race to some magic finish line, there is no behind. There's only the direction you're traveling forward. And the direction, the forward direction, consistently maintained is everything. And I want to say one more thing on this before we move on, because I think it's one of the most undervalued ideas in the whole health and wellness conversation. Learning to enjoy the process, not tolerating it, not white knuckling through it until you reach the destination, actually enjoying it. Finding genuine satisfaction in the small wins, the gradual improvements, the moments where your body does something today that it couldn't do last month. And I know, I know that that might sound like something you say when you want to make someone feel better about not getting results. But believe me, this is not that. Instead, it is strategy. Because when you find meaning and satisfaction and even joy in the process itself, you stop needing the destination to keep you going. You are already going. And that is the most sustainable version of this journey that there is. Each small step you take, each tiny win, each slightly better choice, each workout you showed up for, even when you didn't feel like it, each step is building something that goes far beyond the physical. It is building self belief. It is building the evidence, slowly but undeniably, that you are someone who does this. And that evidence, the lived, felt, embodied experience of being someone who shows up for herself is honestly one of the most extraordinary feelings in the world. And I want that for you. Now, I want to talk about this concept and this phrase that so many of us use of starting over. Because this is the thing that so many of us carry the most shame around when it comes to weight loss and health. The starting over, the restarting, the beginning again, the cycle of trying and stopping and trying again. And today, I want to reframe that completely because I think the way we talk about starting over is one of the most damaging narratives in the entire health and wellness space. Because here's the thing, starting over implies that everything that came before was wasted, that you were starting over back at zero, that all the previous attempts counted for nothing, that you are every time back at the beginning. But here's what I believe is actually true. When you are, as we say, starting over, you are never back at zero. You are never starting over in the way that that phrase suggests because you are not the same person that you were the last time you tried. Today, you have more information, more self knowledge. You have a clear picture of what doesn't work for you. You have a body that, despite everything, is still here, still functioning, still capable, still carrying you through your life every single day. And I want to bring in an analogy here that I think could be useful. I want you to think about learning how to drive a car. When you're learning how to drive, especially if you learned how to drive a car with a manual transmission, where clutch control can be a bit tricky, if you start the car and then immediately stall, which, by the way, everyone does, I've done it too, many times, you don't consider yourself back at zero. You don't think, oh, I have to go back to the beginning and literally learn what a car is. No, you simply restart the engine and you try your clutch control again and you pull away with the forward motion of the car because you are a slightly better driver for having experienced that stall and recovered from it. The stall was not failure. The stall was simply part of the process. And I want you to reconsider that analogy in the context of your health and weight loss transformation. Every time you have started and stopped on your health journey, you have just stalled, not failed, just stalled. There is a difference. And now you're restarting the engine again. And now you know something that you didn't know the last time. Maybe now you know a program that doesn't work for you. Maybe you now know what time of day you are most vulnerable to cravings. Maybe you now know what your emotional eating triggers are. Maybe you now know that restriction makes things worse, not better. That is not nothing. That is everything. And I want to share something about a woman I worked with. I'll call her Jennifer. And, the thing is, when Jennifer first came to me, she said she tried to lose weight, in her own words, about 15 times in the previous 10 years. And she said it to me almost like a confession, like it was something to be ashamed of. Like all those attempts, all those 50 times were somehow evidence that she was broken or that there was something fundamentally wrong with her. And this meant that she would never actually achieve her health transformation goals. And I asked her to tell me what she'd learned from those 15 attempts. And I'll be honest, at first she looked at me like I'd asked a strange question. And she was a bit taken aback. But then she took a moment to consider the question and she started talking as she went through all the times that she tried to lose weight in the past, all the times that even when they had results, they never quite stuck. So she said that actually she learned that extreme restriction would send her into a binge cycle every time. She said that she knew that exercise that she hated, she was never going to be able to stick to beyond 6 weeks. She said that for her, she thought accountability mattered enormously for her. She thought that stress was her number one trigger for overeating. And to be honest, when we were done with that conversation, I thought to myself, look at this incredible self aware woman. She knew her own patterns better than almost any client I'd worked with. Those 15 attempts hadn't failed her, they'd educated her. And then when we took that education and we built an approach that actually worked with everything she knew about herself, her real life, her patterns, her needs, her goals, the result was a genuine transformation that is lasting because it was built on real knowledge, her knowledge, knowledge that only existed because of all those so called failed attempts. And this is the thing I've seen again and again, and what I've experienced myself firsthand. It's this: the women who have struggled the longest with their health often make the most profound, most long lasting, and most complete transformations. Not despite their long history of trying, but because of it. So please hear me when I say this to you today, right here, right now, with love. You are not behind because you have started over many times. You have been gaining experience. You have been becoming more resilient. You are still here, still trying. And that is everything. Now, I want to say something that I think might surprise you because it surprised me when I really sat with it. Being where you are right now, here today, in your 40s, your 50s, maybe your 60s or beyond, your life full and complex and demanding and rich, that is not a disadvantage when it comes to your health transformation. And it might actually be the most powerful motivational environment you will ever have. Let me explain what I mean. Think about who you were at age 22 or 25 or 30. Probably ambitious, probably busy. But honestly, what was your why for transforming your health? What was your motivation to lose weight and have a true health transformation? What was the deep, visceral, emotionally powerful reason that made it feel genuinely urgent? Because if I take myself as an example, for many of us, when we were young, health felt a bit abstract. It felt distant. It felt like something you deal with properly someday in the future, but right now you were invincible and there were more pressing things. And maybe your biggest why when it came to your health transformation was a certain size of jeans or a certain number on the scale. But in this season of life, in midlife and beyond, let's be honest, that's changed, hasn't it? Because in midlife, your why, your motivation for transforming your health is not abstract. Chances are your why is standing right in front of you. Your why might be your children, wanting to be fully present and energetic for them, wanting to be the mother who runs around with them, who travels with them, who's around for the long haul. Your why might be a health niggle that showed up in the last few years and quietly reminded you that the body keeps score. Your why might be a parent or an aunt or a friend or a colleague who is 10, 20, 30 years older than you and whose health struggles you can see clearly and who you are watching and quietly, uncomfortably wondering, that is the road I'm on if I don't change direction. And I want to be really clear here. I'm not talking about judgment. No. I'm not talking about looking at the people in our lives who are struggling with their health and feeling superior to them or being critical of them. No, not for a single second. But what I am talking about is using what you can see as clearly as you can now see it as honest and loving fuel for your own health journey, as a gift of perspective that the younger you simply didn't have. And there's so much more. At this stage of your life, you probably have a lot of relationships that matter to you in ways that are profound and irreplaceable. Chances are you've built something, a family, a career, a community, friendships of real depth, and you know how much those things mean. You have a clarity about what actually matters that you genuinely didn't have at 25. That's the way it is for most of us. And all of that, all of the fullness of your life right now, as it is, it's not a reason to find the transformation harder. Instead, it's a reason to find it more meaningful, more urgent, more connected to the things that genuinely move you. And the research in psychology and behavior change consistently shows that motivation rooted in deep personal meaning, the kind of motivation that connects to our values, our relationships, our sense of who we want to be for the people we love, that is far more durable than motivation rooted in how we look or what number we want to see on that scale. Because surface motivation, that can burn bright and fade. Deep motivation, the kind that connects to your current life in all its fullness and complexity and love, that motivation sustains. And there is something else at this stage of life that I think is genuinely underappreciated. It's the self knowledge, the self awareness, the growing capacity for self compassion that for many women, myself included, only really develops fully in midlife and beyond. And there is real research on this. Studies on self compassion and behavior change show that women who approach their health journeys with kindness towards themselves, who treat setbacks as part of the process rather than evidence of a personal failure, they are more resilient, more consistent, and ultimately more successful in creating long lasting change. Not because self compassion makes you complacent, far from it, but because self compassion keeps you in the game. Because when you stop punishing yourself for every stumble and start responding to yourself the way you would respond to someone you genuinely love, with patience, with encouragement, with a steady hand that helps you back up rather than a voice that kicks you while you're down, in those moments, you can keep going through anything. And I don't know about you, but at 25, I did not have that. Sure, I may have had some of the discipline and the willpower and a younger body that didn't deal with as many hormonal changes, but I had almost none of the self compassion that actually makes a difference. And at 42, I had started to find it, and it changed everything. And if you're someone who struggled with this, with approaching your health journey from a place of love and self compassion rather than punishment and self criticism, I want you to know that you're not alone and that this is some of the most important inner work you can do. I have an episode entirely dedicated to this, to the shift from self punishment to self compassion and what that actually looks like in practice. The link is in the show notes below. Please go and listen to it. I genuinely think it might be one of the most important things you hear. But I want you to remember that you are not at a disadvantage because of where you are in life. You are at an advantage. Your why is real and immediate and deeply connected to the people and the life you love. Your self knowledge is profound. Your capacity for self compassion is growing. And the fullness of your life, the complexity and richness of it, is not your obstacle. Instead, it's your fuel. And I want to say something now that I think might land a little uncomfortably at first, but be patient with me. I want you to stay with it. The thing is that the version of you that is sitting here right now, the one who feels behind, the one who has struggled, the one who has had years of attempts and restarts and frustration in her history, that woman is not the obstacle to your transformation. Instead, she is the answer. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean that the woman who struggled with her weight for 20 years or more, she has a depth of self knowledge that someone who has never struggled simply cannot access. She knows what it feels like to be at the beginning. She knows what it feels like to want something and not know how to get there. She knows what it feels like to try and fall short. She knows what it feels like to doubt herself. And she knows, because she is still here, still trying, what it feels like to refuse to give up. And that is not a liability. That is one of the most powerful sets of qualities a person can bring to a transformation. I know firsthand because I think we spend so much time wishing we were different, wishing we had started earlier, wishing we were the kind of person who found this easy, just naturally, wishing our history was different. But the thing is, all of that wishing is energy spent turning away from the most important resource we have, the woman we already are. What if instead of wishing your history was different, you got curious about it? What if instead of treating your past attempts as evidence of failure, you treated them as simply data? Not data about who you are as a person, no. Data about approaches that didn't fit your life, programs that weren't sustainable, methods that were designed for somebody else's body in somebody else's circumstance. None of those so called failures were about you. All of them were about the fit or the lack of it between the approach you followed and the reality of your life. And you, the woman who is sitting here right now, today, you have more information about that fit than anyone else on earth. No coach, myself included, no program, no influencer knows your life, your body, your history, your emotional landscape, your specific challenges and goals and dreams and constraints the way you do. And all of that knowledge, even the painful knowledge, especially the painful knowledge, all of that is the foundation of the transformation that is available to you right now. Not in some future version of your life when things calm down and the magic moment arrives. No, right now. And I want to do something a little different now. Something I've been thinking about for a while, and I think this is what this episode calls for. I want to give you a permission slip. Actually, I want you to give yourself a permission slip. And I want you to actually receive it. Not just hear it, receive it. So if you can, give me a few seconds. I want you to put your hand on your heart right now. Literally, just put your hand on your heart. Just rest it there. And I want you to let these words sink in. You have permission to begin again today. Not when the timing is perfect, it'll never be perfect. Not when you feel ready. Readiness is a feeling that follows action, not one that precedes it. Not when you've punished yourself sufficiently for the time you feel you've wasted, because there is no amount of self punishment that earns you the right to start. You have the right to start. You have permission to begin today, exactly as you are, with exactly the history you have, with exactly the body you're in, with exactly the life you're living. You have permission to not be perfect at it, to take it slowly, to make progress that looks nothing like the highlight reels you've been comparing yourself to have weeks that are good, weeks that are hard, and to call all of it progress because you're still in it. You have permission to approach this health journey from a place of love, genuine love for yourself and your body, rather than punishment. You do not have to earn the right to take care of yourself. You do not have to hate yourself into health. In fact, every piece of research on this says the opposite is true. Self compassion is not weakness. Self compassion is the strategy that keeps you going when willpower runs out. And willpower often does run out for all of us, but self compassion is what gets you back up. You have permission to be a beginner again. Maybe even enjoy it, even if you've been a beginner before, even if you've been a beginner many times before. Every expert in every field was a beginner multiple times over. Being a beginner is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of willingness and true courage. You have permission to prioritize yourself, not when everybody else's needs are met. They will never all be met at the same time. Not all of them, not completely. No. Now, as an act of genuine love for yourself and for every person in your life who benefits from the version of you who is healthy, energized, strong, and fully present. And you have permission to believe, to genuinely, fully, non negotiably believe that it is not too late, that the time you have is enough, that your history, however long, however complicated, however filled with attempts and restarts and frustrations, is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of the story. And you are still writing it every single day. And I want you to stay with that permission slip for a moment. Really let it sink in. Because I think for some of you, one of those permissions may have landed differently than the others. Maybe it was the one about self compassion. Maybe it was the one about prioritizing yourself. Maybe it was the one about starting today. Whatever it was, that's yours. That's the one to take with you from this episode. Because the thing that caught your attention, the thing that made something tighten or soften in your chest, that is the thing your inner self already knows you need. And I can hear some of you thinking, okay, Vera, this is beautiful, but what do I actually do? And I hear you. I do. Because inspiration without direction is just a feeling, and feelings fade. So, what I want to give you today is something that lasts beyond just this episode. So, here are three specific, practical, grounded things I want you to do this week. Not a program, not a complete overhaul, just three things. First thing is to write down your real why. Not the surface why, not I want to lose weight or I want to fit into my old jeans or I want to look better. No, those are fine starting points, but they are not deep enough to hold you through difficulty. I want you to write down the why underneath the why. What does being healthy actually mean for your life? What do you want to be able to do that you cannot fully do right now? It can even be as simple as sit on any chair without worrying about it. Trust me, that was one of my whys. What kind of woman do you want to be at 60, at 70, at 80, at 90, and beyond? What does your health make possible that nothing else can? What or who are you doing this for at the deepest level? That is your why. And that is what you come back to on the hard days, not the number on the scale, the why. And if you want a little extra inspiration on this, I have a free 8-minute guided meditation in the show notes that I specifically created to help you do exactly this, to connect with your deepest, most personal why in a way that really stays with you. Please go and download it and use it as your first step this week. It'll take less time than one scroll through Instagram, and it'll do you infinitely more good than a scroll ever could. I promise. Now, second thing is to pick one small thing and do it today. Not a program, one thing. That is all. The smallest possible thing that moves you in the direction you want to go. So, what do I mean by this? Well, maybe your one thing is to drink a glass of water first thing in the morning before anything else. Maybe it's to do a 10-minute walk every day, non negotiable starting today, no matter what. Maybe it's swapping one ultra processed food for the whole food alternative today. But the key thing, it's just one thing done today. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not Friday, today. If you want some inspiration on what that one thing could be for you, check out my low hanging fruit episodes for some suggestions of what that one small thing could be for you. Because the starting today is everything. And the start doesn't have to be dramatic to be real. That's the secret. A small start that actually happens is infinitely more powerful than a large start that is perpetually planned and delayed. Remember the tortoise, one step, then the next. And the third thing is that I want you to try to stop calculating how far you are from the destination and start noticing how far you've already come. And I know that's easier said than done. I know that sounds counterintuitive. I know the gap between where you are and where you want to be is real. And sometimes it feels enormous. I know, I get it. I've been there. But this is your reminder that that gap is not the only thing worth measuring. Think about where you were 10 years ago in terms of self knowledge, in terms of understanding your body, in terms of what you know now about what works and what doesn't, in terms of your willingness to ask for help, to seek support, to listen to a podcast like this one because you're still in it, you're still trying. And were you that person 10 years ago? I don't know. Maybe not. You've grown. You've grown in ways that matter enormously, even if the scale hasn't always reflected them. So remember, you are not behind. You are in motion. And motion, any motion in the right direction, consistently is everything. And one more thing I want to mention, because I know that one of the real practical challenges on this health transformation journey is some of the self sabotaging behavior. And one of the key ones that many of us women struggle with is cravings. Those moments that hijack your best intentions, the pull towards food that has nothing to do with hunger. If that's something that resonates with you, And honestly, for most of the women I work with, it does. I want you to know that I'm building something specifically designed to help with this, a dedicated tool to help us women understand and manage cravings in a way that feels empowering rather than restrictive. I'm so excited about it. It is coming soon. And if you want to be the very first to know when it launches, the link to join the waitlist is in the show notes. Go sign up. I genuinely think it's going to be a game changer. Now, I want to wrap up this episode and let me leave you with this. The woman who sent me that message, the one who said she felt 30 years behind, who wondered if it was too late, I want to tell you what I told her. The fact that you are still asking that question means that you have not given up. The fact that you're still hoping means the door is not closed. The fact that you reached out means you know somewhere underneath the doubt that something good is still possible for you. So, no, you have not missed the window. You have not left it too late. You have not wasted your time. You have simply lived your life. You are human. You've lived it imperfectly, humanly, in the messy middle of everything that life throws at you. And you are still here, still trying, still caring, still asking. And every step of that journey, every attempt, every restart, every moment of doubt that you pushed through anyway, that has been building the version of you who is about to do this. Really do this. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not in a straight line, but for real and for keeps and for once and for all. That is not someone who is behind. That is someone who is exactly where she needs to be to start the chapter that changes everything. Remember the tortoise. Remember Jennifer. Remember that slow, consistent, self compassionate progress is not the consolation prize, it is the whole game. And wherever you are right now, whatever you're carrying, whatever the voice in your head has been telling you about how far behind you are, I want to leave you with this. You are not behind. You're exactly where you need to be. And wherever that is, I am here with you. You've got this. I am so proud of you. I genuinely mean every single word of that. And I will see you in the very next episode. Now, before you go, if this episode landed for you today, if something shifted, if you needed to hear something in here and you heard it, please share it. Because I know that someone in your life may also need to hear this today. Someone who maybe feels behind, someone who's carrying the heavy weight of all those starts and stops, someone who is wondering if it's just too late. Please send this episode to her. Just forward it. Just, I thought of you. That is enough. It might be everything to her. Don't forget, the free 8-minute motivation meditation to help you reconnect to your why is in the show notes. Please go and use it this week as your first small step and send me a message and let me know how you got on. And if cravings are something that are getting in your way, as is the case for so many of us, if you find yourself making choices you didn't intend to make, being pulled towards food in ways that feel out of your control, the wait list for my cravings tool is also in the show notes. This is something I've been building with real care, and I genuinely cannot wait to share it with you. Sign up so you're the first to know when it launches. If you're enjoying the show, a review on Apple Podcasts helps more women find this community when they're searching for exactly this. It takes under 2 minutes, and knowing that the show is reaching the women who need it most means everything to me. Don't forget, everything I've mentioned in the free resources in today's episode is all in the show notes. Take care of yourself. You deserve it. All of it. and I'm cheering you on every single step of the way. And thank you. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. If you want more real, honest guidance on losing weight and transforming your health sustainably in midlife and beyond, you're in the right place. Subscribe here and get my strategies, mindset shifts, and the tools that actually work for women 40 and above. No BS, no quick fixes, just real transformation. Don't forget, you deserve to feel good in your body and life. I believe in you and I'm cheering you on every single step of the way. Have an amazing day. For the obligatory legal disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, nutritionist, therapist, medical professional, or similar. All information shared on this podcast is purely for informational purposes and does not constitute medical advice. It is entirely your personal choice and responsibility as to what information you use. Please consult your own medical professional for any medical advice.